folks. We're back. 2023. It's Monday. Maybe you didn't know we had a show today, but that's okay. We are here. We're on the Weave Field of 68's Best Bets show presented by BetRivers, sailing on into a new calendar year. I'm Jim Root, your host this fine afternoon or morning, depending on your time zone, joined by Kai McEwen, Matthew Cox. Fellas, there were, I think, 300 games on Saturday, a couple more yesterday. I'm hoping you at least have one or two takeaways, Kai, because the slate isn't that big today. So we can do a little recap if we want to. What do you got?
I kind of zeroed in on yesterday, Jim, forgetting about the massive slate on Saturday. But Michigan, how about them? Pounded Maryland after losing to Central Michigan. It's a hard team to peg. It's a hard team to peg when they lose to an in-state directional school and then crush a Maryland team that we think is still pretty good. So yeah, Matt, not really sure how to peg Michigan right now. And then Providence, they're awesome. I've fully surrendered to the fact that Providence just might be really, really good this year. It's kind of weird to think they might be better than last year, but this kind of is where we're at right now, Matt.
They are.
Yeah,
I agree. I think they are. Pardon the shots. Over under 10.5 voice cracks today. I think I have the over, but that's where the current line is settled, Kai. Annoying that you go to New Year's Eve and talk to four people and have a shot voice. So
sure, that's what you did, man. We know you were raging. We know you.
I wish I had a better, cooler story there, Jim. I just don't. Hey, my takeaway is, as a microcosm kind of that game, Maryland, the Terps are fine. I think they play Michigan in the absolute worst spot. Obviously, when you play a team that just lost to an in-state directional school, look at the UCLA loss, also a bad spot. I just, in general, a lot of topsy-turvy results in the last 2 weeks. I don't know. Try to stay even keel, I guess, is my advice. I still think Maryland's really good. Are they as good as the top 10 team they play the first 2 weeks? Probably not. Are they a fringe top 40 team, which is where they're rated in Camp? I'm not. I get a little better than that. So,
truth is in the middle on Maryland. Would you say you're more closer to panic mode on Maryland or Iowa, fellas? That's my question.
Iowa. Yeah, Iowa.
I agree.
I would agree on Iowa.
Yeah. Losing to Eastern Illinois and then the Penn State, Nebraska losses to follow it up. There's something wrong there. They broke a little bit before that Eastern Illinois game, and they have not figured out how to solve it quite yet. All right, let's get into today's slate. We do have a couple of big Monday games. It's not a true big Monday on ESPN because Monday Night Football still lasts for one more week here. But on ESPNU, we've got West Virginia at Oklahoma State. The Cowboys laying 3 at home, total of 141. Both teams coming off a rather disheartening, crushing loss to start league play. How does that impact this game here?
Yeah, how about that Oklahoma State loss? Wow, Mizzou fans would recognize the way that ended. Oklahoma State had a layup to tie the game. They got blocked. It was probably a foul. I'm just saying there's a lot of contact, and it was at Fog Allen. We know the refs tend to favor the Jayhawks there, but neither here nor there. Yes, tough loss for Oklahoma State. They also blew a 15-point halftime lead. West Virginia lost in overtime, Jim, to Kansas State. It should be a physical game. Two very athletic, defensive-minded teams. Oklahoma State's ball handling, Matt, this year has been bad. I expect West Virginia to take advantage of that, bother them a bit. But I still don't have a really confident rating on West Virginia. I don't feel good about betting them or fading them right now. So I'm probably staying away. For an extra note, these two teams split the series last year. This line feels about right to me. Two teams 0-1, looking to get their first win in the Big 12.
I think it's a little high, actually. I'm a huge West Virginia believer. I'm stubbornly a believer every single season. Just lost an OT at K-State, Kai. So yeah, maybe a tough turnaround, but also you could argue that tough turnaround staying in the Midwest is probably a good thing for this team. Extra juice of motivation trying to avoid 0-2. And they match up well with OK State, right? OK State just overwhelms you with length and size, and West Virginia's got that in spades. So yeah, I think they get this done on the road here. I would take anything at 3 or higher.
Wow. I don't know that they match up very well against. I think you got to shoot against Oklahoma State, and I think West Virginia's. We're still seeing some of their aggression set in for them. Shot quality's got them due to go down 11% in the mid-range, 6% from 3. Both of those well
just
above
Eric Stevenson. It's literally just Eric Stevenson. It has to be.
And Emmett Matthews is shooting 45% from 3 too. It's ridiculous. But Matt, I'm not surprised to hear you. You're not concerned about West Virginia losing to K-State, even though you think one's good and the other's bad. How about that?
The Octagon of Doom's weird. Octagon of Doom's weird, Jim. That's a good home court there.
Hey, my best bet is the under here, folks. First game of the day, first game on the slate. I wrote this up at Action Network if you want even more detail about it, but I think the shot regression matters. I don't think it's going to be as big of a track meet, maybe as you would imagine with West Virginia, they're not running as much as I think I perceive them to be. Oklahoma State also, they'll run it opportunistically, but not consistently. And I just don't think either team scores really efficiently in this game. Oklahoma State's offense isn't very good. They had 5 points in 11 minutes against Kansas. That's how they let the Jayhawks back into it. And I think West Virginia, with that potential regression coming in the shooting department and just struggling to score inside with Cisse owning the paint, I think this one stays under 141, which is the current total, but it's been bet up. I was surprised to be against the market. I have a worse number than 141, but I'll take that for the show. All right, let's go to Purdue, the new number one team in the country, or maybe not new number one. I guess they've been number one. But with UConn losing, one of two remaining undefeateds here, the Boilermakers, only them and New Mexico remain without a blemish at this stage. Matthew, got Rutgers going on the road. Last year when Purdue got to number one, they immediately went to Rutgers and lost. Ron Harper Jr. drove the stake through their hearts. Does Purdue maintain the number one ranking this time? They're an 8.5 point favorite in West Lafayette.
I think the early money got the right price miss here. I think Rutgers was a little bit overvalued opening at 7, basically just because they've been amazing so far as a favorite. Like, I think they've been like one of the best non-con favorites in the country this year. They have this, like when they're locked in defensively, mid-majors have no chance of scoring. And when they're not making shots, it doesn't matter because they can get to the glass and supplement inside. So like very easy, reliable ways to score. All that said, Purdue, you're not getting any of that, right? Like, I think they're going to actually have to execute and make shots. That said, 8.5, Kai, I think the current price is a hard stay away. 7, Purdue, current price, nothing.
Yeah, on the surface, the spread feels a little bit high, right? The market kind of snuffed out that the KenPom line of 6 was probably wrong. Rutgers is 18th in that metric. I don't think they're a top 20 team, frankly. And we know historically on the road, they've been worse than at home. This year, they're 0-2 straight up on the road, 1-1 against the spread against two really good teams, Miami and Ohio State, and probably should have won the Ohio State game. There was controversy at the end of that one. Purdue's been awesome. We know they're number one, and Mackey is a really tough place to play. They beat Rutgers by 12 here last season, and arguably better. Well, I don't know if it's a better Rutgers team now at this point, but we'll see. I agree with Matt, though. I think it's a really tough matchup for Rutgers. I think Amourier is really great, but gosh, no one can guard Zach Edey. You're not going to beat Purdue on the glass. They're going to force Rutgers to be shooters. That's not their strong suit. And Purdue's ball handling has been great this year. I still love Smith and Lawyer. I think they can handle whatever Rutgers' length throws at them on the perimeter. So I do like Purdue here, but 8.5 is too much for me to lay, Jim.
Yeah, too steep where it's at right now. I want to see Lawyer and Smith against Caleb McConnell and Paul Mulcahy. Like, that's a lot of length on the perimeter they can throw at you. McConnell, the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, that could be an issue. I think the foul trouble up front is going to be big. If either Omori or Edey gets in foul trouble early, that's a huge, huge edge for the team that does not have a big man in foul trouble. So that's something to monitor. Maybe potential live bet there. If you catch a line quick after one of them gets 2 fouls early, that might be an angle worth looking at. But I don't have any play on the side or total where it's at right now. I'm just gonna watch this one. Like I said, if there's 2 fouls early, then maybe there's something there. All right, next up, we're going to the Ivy League, going out east. Brown hosting Penn. Kai, I guess we're supposed to get Jordan Dingle out there. He's been in and out of the lineup, but who knows if he's going to be full strength. But Penn is a 1 point favorite. They've taken a little bit of money. I think this opened Brown -1 or about a pick. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, Slatcher returned last game for Penn, non-D1 game. He's a major scorer for them. He's important. But Dingle was out. And Penn is a really frustrating team to bet on because they do tend to rest random guys. I don't think it's always an injury. I think it's usually a lingering thing. And Donahue or the staff says, all right, we're going to sit you. Maybe it's a little bit different in Ivy League play. I would think you would play all your guys in the conference opener here. But who knows? It's always kind of a crapshoot. Brown closed really strong in the non-conference, Matt. Their strength is their athleticism. They really battle. If Dingle's in, though, I think Penn takes care of business here. I think Brown can hang around, but the best version of this Penn team is the best team in the Ivy. So I like Penn here on a short spread, lean their way.
I lean Penn too. I think they're going to be a rocket ship in conference, to be honest. Like they play their schedule so insane. They have some weird, terrible losses on just tough scheduling spots. The injuries you've mentioned, it's been the thing like for multiple years now. But they typically kind of bring it together during conference play. Brown, on the other hand, you would think that their athleticism would be like a major edge in Ivy play, but like their last 2 full seasons, I don't have the exact ATS record, but they've kind of either leveled off or slipped a little bit. You look at their start of season, KenPom rank, end of season, it's kind of been a little bit of a demise. So I wonder if the coaches in that league know how to scheme against it, and thus you actually have a good buy low versus sell high spot here with Penn.
Yeah, I think the health is huge. I mean, last year, I think Brown's size actually did give Penn problems, but they didn't have Lorca Lloyd, and Spinoza was like barely healthy. So that's their two best and biggest players. It gives them a much more fighting chance inside. I took Penn at pick. I'm with you guys. I think they are trending up relative to where they're rated right now. Through league play, I think they've got the best player in the conference in Dingle. Maybe a woman for Princeton's right there too. But they got the best guard in the conference, and they're deep. When they're healthy, they're deep. So I think that's going to be a team that I'm looking to back through league play, and I'm backing them today. All right, let's go to the next one. This was supposed to be Rider and Niagara, but that game started at 11. So we replaced it with good old IUPUI. Had to get them on the slate. They're hosting Wright State. Matthew, the Raiders are taking a little bit of money here, 15 up to 15.5 now at BetRivers. I think that makes sense. I think if you can score against IUPUI, you can blow them out, and Wright State can score. They've got fully capable scorers both inside and out. We saw Northern Kentucky just barely kind of win by 13, but they weren't scoring enough to blow that game open. I think Wright State can do that. What do you say?
Yeah, and you have Wright State, who is not like high and mighty 3-0 Wright State, like the typical class of the conference. It's 0-3 Wright State that will have no, margin for lackadaisical effort today. So yeah, I think they score well. IUPUI looked oddly competitive in that weird MT up in Fort Wayne, but I don't know how much stock I put in that. I still think they're a bad team generally. I lean Wright State here, Kai, but just like 15 points just is a lot of variance at that number. I don't want to get involved in.
Yeah, you mentioned Wright State's 0-3 in the horizon. It's not a familiar spot for them. It's very strange start for them as well. I think they come out and whoop IUPUI personally. The Jags did hang around with NKU despite missing 4 players, including Jalen Counter. I don't know if he's back or not. He's like their best player. So that effort was pretty impressive. NKU did get up by like 19 points, but couldn't put him away. If Counter's out, Wright's definitely a play. Even with him in, though, I lean towards Wright. High motivation. IUPUI can't stop their offense. And IUPUI's offense won't hurt Wright's defense, which has been their weak point over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think if Counter's out, you could go full game or first half. If he's in, I'd probably look towards first half. Just like we said, Northern Kentucky got up big, and then I think a lot of people are just like, it's IUPUI, autopilot coast. Maybe they get inside and lose by 12 instead of 15. That would be the way I would look at this. IUPUI is not going to punish that defense where Wright State has seemingly struggled this year. It seems like Trey Calvin's mostly back out of the doghouse. He's kind of been in and out with Scott Nagy this year, but he's the best player on the floor if he's right and if he's focused and allowed to play and have free reign. And it seems like he's going to. So yeah, that's the way I would handicap that one, depending on Counter status. Keep an eye on that. All right, Matthew, you are our chat czar, so you can just squeeze out the questions and rest your voice a little bit.
Thank you. Let's get some ASUN Patriot first. Kai, Matty Akers asking about, it's my best bet coming up at the end of the show. I'm going to spoil it right now. Loyola Maryland at American, taking the Greyhounds plus 7.5. Home is nothing here. American's been a rocket ship, obviously a non-conference. But our Greyhounds aren't this bad. I just don't believe that. I know they've missed Santi Aldama. I know they've missed Cam Spencer, who are like, a legit NBA talent and a legit Big Ten starter. But they're deep enough. Like this game plays a little more ugly, a little more close, grimy. That just enough for my Greyhounds to stay inside the number. So boom, plus 7.5. Kai, Jim, thoughts on that game?
None.
Yeah.
I mean, felt a little high. I'm kind of scared of American right now, but fair enough.
Don't be scared. Kai, J-Man asking about Boston U Bucknell. I know you got some eyes on Boston last game and we're not impressed.
Boston's terrible. I mean, my God, like they're so bad. They look poorly coached, which is concerning because I held Joe Jones in pretty high regard. But last couple of years, I'm not sure they've been over 500 ATS in the last 2 or 3 years because I tend to be on them a lot. It tends to end in disappointment. Against Navy, they were in complete disarray. They did shoot really poorly from 3. They did get some good looks, but still not a team I'm looking to back right now. I'd lean Bucknell or I'd stay away.
Yeah, I was surprised Boston U took it's down 2.5 down to 1. I like Bucknell at that price. Boston U doesn't really have a point guard figured out. That situation is dicey for them. And Bucknell, I think, is a little more solved right now.
I think it's a better spot for Boston, but I'm with you. I've never watched Boston play a good game. I believe they've been good the last few
Never
years.
seen them play a good game.
I've never seen it. When I watched, it looks terrible every time. So I'm just I don't need to bet on something that I know doesn't look good.
Yeah.
That's probably a bad reason to not bet
It
something.
is.
Ryan A asking about Florida Gulf Coast, North Alabama. I have a take here, Jimbo. Wait, sorry, this is not. This is a split.
Those two are not playing each other.
Yeah, okay, let's just divide that up. North Alabama is playing Bellarmine.
That's on the rundown.
Back half of the rundown is 4 ASUN games.
It's
the
all
one that's
ASUN.
not on is Gulf
Coast, right? And they are playing
Central
Arkansas. Terrible travel spot for Gulf Coast here.
Yep. Yeah, 48-hour turnaround going from their home Fort Myers, where they had a monster comeback to cover against Jacksonville. I know there's some bitter Jacksonville backers out there, myself included. Although I did have 7, so I got to push. But they were up 18. That should have been a win. Now they have to go all the way to Central Arkansas. They can kind of make games interesting with the amount of threes they take. They space the floor pretty well, but Colin Cooper missed last game. I think he's fairly important for them. So I would lean towards Central Arkansas, but they could get totally overwhelmed physically inside if Gulf Coast is dialed in.
Hi, Matty Akers, Colgate Lehigh. Thoughts? Colgate Juggernaut continues to smash, or is this number too high? Sitting at 11 currently, they've taken money.
Yeah, every single number is going to be high for Colgate and Patriot play. Doesn't matter. They're going to cover more spreads than not. It's a very scary team to fade in Patriot. They dominate this league. They own it. So I would not fade Colgate. If anything, put your money on them.
Do we have any other main? Well, I guess Mount St. Mary's Canisius at the. Where's this game being played? Other cool questions.
At Niagara.
At Niagara.
I thought it was in Canisius today.
I think they still have storm damage in their arena, so everything's getting played at Niagara.
I made a mistake.
At the Costler Athletic Center, I believe that. Yeah, that is where.
It's at Costler. If Costler would be,
Canisius, I thought it was at Canisius.
Gallagher's.
Hold on. Okay, Chama, please correct us on that. I have 2 different sources here looking at the schedule, which seems wrong. What's the official schedule usually is accurate. All right, let's just go back to the second.
Canisius' official schedule says Gallagher Center, which would be Niagara.
Okay.
I made a mistake. I took Canisius today.
At -2.5, Kai. So would you still bet them? That sounds like
I would not bet them 2.5. No, but look at Niagara. They're playing very well right now. Ryder. I know it's their home court, but Ryder just played in this gym. There's something about this Buffalo road trip for these teams, even though they're not heading to Canisius after their Niagara game. I lean towards Canisius.
A lot of SWAC questions. We're going to hold those to second round of chat. Jimmy, outline.
All right, let's get sunny. Let's get ASUN, Kai. I know this is your favorite league this year, or one of them. So we'll start with you. Lipscomb at Liberty typically has been a title bout in this league, especially going back to when Casey Alexander was in charge of Lipscomb and they were a powerhouse. Now we got Liberty laying 9.5 at home. Total 140, definitely a stylistic clash in terms of tempo. Liberty wants to play a little more half court. What do you think? What do you make of this one?
Yeah, lines come down a bit. It felt pretty high at the opener, but Liberty is kind of in its own class in the ASUN this season, especially. Acuff's done pretty well, the coach of Lipscomb, against Liberty. 2 wins in the last 4 years against a Liberty team that literally always dominates this league. It's an awesome offense against a really, really good defense in Liberty. Asajo is a major weapon for Lipscomb with his passing ability. Lipscomb has a bunch of shooters, but the other end is a problem here, Matt. I don't think Liberty's offense is going to be stopped. It's been sizzling this year. It's top 50 in the country. Darius McGee should have his way tonight. I got nothing here at 9.5. That's pretty much where I'd make it. Just staying away.
Yeah, the number felt high, but not high enough. I really wanted to back Lipscomb here, but Jimmy talked about how Liberty just kind of it's sort of Colgate, right? It's the dominant mid-major, and while the ASUN's got a lot better, I still think Liberty is a clear-cut class above the rest of this league, and they played like a pretty dominant favorite so far. And when they're making shots and McGee's going, there's just no stopping that offense. No play for me at 9.5. I think it feels high to me, though. Feels very high to me.
Yeah, Lipscomb is 5-2 against the spread last 7 against Liberty, so they've had some success here against the league powerhouse. They're playing a lot of 2 bigs now with Asajo and Ignacevich, and that gives them kind of an edge inside. But Liberty plays such a packed-in pack line scheme that maybe they're not able to take advantage of that as much. A lot of post doubles, I think, is going to take the ball out of their hands. So it likely comes down to whether Lipscomb hits jumpers. And while they can, it's tough to do so against Liberty. They can test shots really well. So I'm sitting that one out. That is not one of the ASUN games that I have a play on. However, this next one I do quite like, and I'm going straight to Kai again
Yeah.
because I think we agree here. Stetson is laying 3 at home to North Florida, but this is an odd little scenario where the home team actually has more travel than the road team because the home team's coming back from Nashville, whereas North Florida just has a 90-minute drive down from Jacksonville. So Kai, who do we like here?
We like North Florida, Jim. ASUN play is usually where we see North Florida step back up and start to play well. They always play a brutal non-con schedule every single year. Then usually they have success in the ASUN under Driscoll when they're healthy. They're a very experienced team. They can shoot. And I think they can compete tonight against Stetson and win outright. It's my best bet at +3. Matt Stetson's outperformed expectations early. Their offense has been pretty much humming behind really, really, really good shooting, really good ball handling, and really good offensive glass work. They definitely have a rebounding edge, but nobody runs shooters off the line better than North Florida in the country. The Hatters are going to have to shift their style to score consistently, and I think North Florida has no issue scoring tonight. So spread's a bit high for me. North Florida +3, best bet.
Yeah, last year both these games went to OT, so I would expect this is a very close game again. I don't really feel confident North Florida blows them out, but I think the number is just wrong. I think it should be basically a pick 'em. I think the Ospreys, the House of Trey, just a little better team than Stetson. Don't give a ton of home here. So a pure number play for me. I trailed my King Kai with the Ospreys.
Yep, I took this at 4.5. I like North Florida quite a bit. I said I'd bet it down to 3. The zone I think is going to be huge. Running them off the line, it's a weird zone where it doesn't give up threes. It's like they extend so far that you have to kind of play in the lane, hit some mid-range jumpers, or attack their shot blockers at the rim, and it's a little tougher to score there. Stetson's 9th in the country in most points scored from beyond the 3-point line, or highest share of points. So they are really, really reliant on the 3-point line. If they're not able to score from there, it kind of derails and diffuses their offense. I think that's a great matchup for North Florida. I mentioned that travel angle. Granted, Stetson played Friday. North Florida played Saturday. Right. So there's a little difference, but not enough that it's going to shake my handicap here. Definitely with you guys. Birds of Trey, Ospreys. Let's fly. All right, next one. Bellarmine at North Alabama. North Alabama's been a surprise team for me this year. I did not think they'd be all that good, but they won at Ole Miss. They've been feisty to start league play here. Matt, Bellarmine, I think, has been missing Bash Wheeland a little bit, and they're certainly missing Dylan Penn. They don't have like a slasher that kind of cuts through their fantastic ball movement and man movement offensively. How do you see this one with Bellarmine, a 1.5-point favorite on the road at North Bama?
I know UNA has been awesome, like no doubt about it. I have to give credit where credit's due. I did take Bellarmine here, though. I just think it's a bounce back spot for them early in conference play. Plain and simple, just a gut intuition that they win this game. I know that Mr. Davenport's been up in arms about his team's effort. I think he just went berserk a couple games ago, and they had some injuries that may have deflated their non-con performance before that. They're healthier, not all the way healthy, but healthier, as healthy as they've been in a while. I think they get this one done.
Yeah, they haven't been the same without Bash Wheeland, Bellarmine. And their defense is what's been costing them games. Also, their shooting has been terrible. It's usually a potent offense because they can shoot. This year, shots aren't falling. Kind of tough. A little bit of variance, perhaps, but it's also kind of a brand new team than last year. And yeah, North Alabama's been fantastic. Jim mentioned the Ole Miss win. They won at Jacksonville State, which is impressive as well. Tony Poole is known for his defense. That's what this team hangs their hat on. I tend to think Bellarmine is a buy low here. North Alabama sort of a sell high. That sways me towards the Knights, but current form is all the way North Alabama. It's hard to go against them right now.
Yep. I think you guys pretty much hit the angles there. The one I wanted to mention too is from a matchup perspective, North Alabama doesn't really like to shoot. They're more of a downhill team, but they can shoot. And Bellarmine's the most packed in defense like in the country. They know they don't have a lot of athleticism or size. So they're really compressed and force you to go over the top. They give up a ton of triples. And if North Alabama's guys are hitting them like they have so far this year, particularly Ortiz, then that would be an edge to the home team. I do think from a gut sense, though, I was like Bellarmine versus North Alabama. Like Kai, I love that buy low, sell high. Would lean towards Bellarmine, but I did not bet this one myself. All right, now we will finish with the crosstown rivalry. It's not a crosstown rivalry. Jacksonville State at Jacksonville, 2 different Jacksonvilles here, not even in the same state, but it's always fun to make fun of that little naming convention. Kai, the Dolphins really just completely collapsed, as we mentioned, against Gulf Coast. Jacksonville State, on the other hand, lost at home to North Alabama. So both these teams kind of coming off disappointing performances. We don't know Mike Marsh's status for Jacksonville. He was supposed to be back Saturday. He was not. So what do you do with this one? What do you do?
I don't know, Jim. Jacksonville State hasn't found its groove yet. That was a surprising loss, North Alabama. Peyton Daniels did play like 9 minutes off the bench. It appears he's ramping back up. He's going to be really important for them. And then the Dolphins, Matt, they just haven't been healthy this year. They've had guys out all the time, every single game. Marsh was out, as Jim mentioned. So was Jarius Cook. He was out of the game as well. They had Florida Gulf Coast on the ropes, and they just could not finish. I can't trust Jacksonville as a big favorite, especially against a Ray Harper coach team. He's a great game planner. He's seen this team a couple times already. They split the series last year. I think it's going to be a pretty close game. So spread's a tad high for me. It's come down to 5. I lean towards the dog.
I like this spot for the dog. I just like the team. I like the favorite better. I'm just not a big Jack State believer. I know their talent's pretty good. I just have watched them a couple times. I know it was early, a lot of new pieces to integrate, but I didn't like what I saw. So I'm kind of selling Jacksonville State. And I still think Jacksonville, despite the injuries, is still awesome. So I think you get a good effort here today from the Dolphins.
Yeah, Kai, you mentioned the injuries that they've had in and out with Marsh and Jarius Cook, and Bryce Workman is out for the entire season.
Yep.
Like another guy that was supposed to be kind of key for their front court rotation. I mentioned a lot of the 3-point shooting with the ASUN here. Jacksonville, another very packed in defense. They give up a ton of threes. And if there's one thing Jacksonville State is legitimately very good at, it's making threes. They were fantastic last year. And even with mostly new cast of characters, they can still shoot the ball from the perimeter. So I think that gives them enough of a route to points where I'm not going to back a slow, grinding Jacksonville team, despite, like Matt said, I kind of like them more on paper than Jack State. But given where the line is at, I'm just going to sit this one out. All right, Matthew, we are back to Chat Mob. I believe there's going to be a lot of swaction in here. Am I correct?
Heavy swaction. Let's get to it. Kai, Grambling at Prairie View minus 1.5 from Maddie Bolte. Also asked about Jackson State and Elkhorn. I'll get to that in a second. But Grambling, Prairie View, the Panthers hosting here. Short spread, in my opinion. Thoughts?
I'm leaning towards Prairie View here. Grambling's been awesome in the non-con. Cartier Gordon, clearly a huge impact player for them. He probably has a big game against Prairie View. They don't really guard the interior very well, but I think it's a tough place to play. I think Prairie View can still finish among the top couple spots in the SWAC. Still think they're among the contenders in that league, and they were impressive as well against certain teams in the non-con. So I lean their way, Prairie View, at minus 1.5.
Gordon did not play last game, I don't believe. Worth checking there. There's actually a couple of notable rosters in the SWAC that guys missed last game.
It's really hard to.
So
it was
no one knows.
It was a non-D1,
crapshoot.
So maybe they were just resting him. I don't know.
Yeah.
I kind of expect him back. I think Prairie View A&M turns them over. I like.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really trust Gremlings. General rule of thumb on betting the SWAC: bet teams that are deep. So if you get 1 or 2 guys that are randomly MIA, which is like basically every game, you don't feel as like shot. Southern falls in that mix. Gets them in a second here. Jim, let's go. Jackson State, Alcorn State. I had no take on this game. Are you nutty for nuts today?
Yep, I'm getting the Acorn, Matthew. I wrote this one up for Action Network as well. I would take this up to 3.5 or even 4, probably. This is Alcorn's home opener. Like insane. It is January 2nd. They have not played a single home game. Jackson State actually hasn't either. So this is a part of the end of their long road run. They're both team stats are tough to figure out because they played such impossible non-cons. Yep. You can't put too much weight in it. But again, I think Alcorn turns them over like crazy, gets free buckets going the other way. That's the difference. I like Acorn. I am nutty for nuts, Matthew.
I think I am too. Line felt short to me. Jackson State was really feisty, but man, they ran a steam lead in that non-con. Just an absolute destructive schedule. Kai, speaking of Southern, I knew we would get to it. Daryl Turner asking about this matchup. Sean Woods versus Johnny Jones. Mm-hmm. For my money, two of the two best teams in the conference. Any take on this one?
Absolutely. And because of that, I think they're pretty much even. 3.5, 4, probably the right spread, but I would lean towards Southern. I'd have no take beyond that, Matt. It's purely a number thing for me.
Jim, let's go to the Valley. Valley State, that is, headed to, they're actually leaving the Valley, going to Alabama State to play Madlock and company. A team that we thought would be a lot better. And non-con really didn't impress me all that much. Do you think -8's too many to lay, though, today?
Well, you Shania Twain. It didn't impress you much?
Didn't impress me much.
There you go.
Not going to say.
I kind of lean towards Alabama State a little bit from a number perspective. I don't think Mississippi Valley State's very good, but they are better at mucking it up this year than they have been in the past, which makes them a little bit more dangerous as a dog. So I backed Alabama State small at -8, but I don't feel great about it.
I believe that's all we have. I think we're missing one more question. No one cares about Bethune-Cookman, Florida A&M. I blame them, honestly. I kind of lean toward the road with the Wildcats, right? BC
they should be so much better than they have been.
So much better. The fact that they've been bet up to -2, so they took some money. Kai, any tech on that one or no?
I took Bethune-Cookman, but Florida A&M has looked better than Bethune.
They have feisty the last
couple games. Yep.
That's all we got. Let's best bets recap it. Who's up? Me?
Yes.
What's the outline say, Matthew?
The outline says me. I guess I'll follow that since that's what you guys endorse. I'm betting on the Loyola Maryland Greyhounds, a team I loved so much last year. I don't love them as much this year. I like them today in this spot, though. I think 7.5 is too much against American that's playing a bit over their heads.
I took North Florida +3, the Birds of Trey. Let's hope the Treys are falling. Jim.
Knock them down. And then the Treys are not falling in West Virginia, Oklahoma State, because I am on the under 141. Hopefully that one's a little slower than anticipated and very inefficient from those two teams, two good defenses. All right, that's it. That wraps up our show today for Monday. We got a lot more big games coming tomorrow. So we'll be back at it. Same time. We're back Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we're off Friday. And of course, the usual Spinny Saturday Marathon show Saturday morning. So we'll see you all then. Thank you for tuning in on this fine Monday. Thank you to BetRivers in the Field of 68.